In this video, I'm going to show you 3 creative ways to use reverb for your drums. Let's get it.
Watch me take control.
Okay guys, let's do this really quick. The drum kit, it's only kick and hi-hat. And I separated the snare from that drum kit because I'm working on MIDI and I'm using the modern soul and R&B kit for both of those. Okay, so it's the same kit. I'm not doing anything different for any of those. I just separated the snare because we're gonna work on the snare separately in a second. But this is what the drum sounds like without any reverb as of right now. That's pretty cool. For the tutorial today, we're going to do 3 different reverbs. The first one is a full-on reverb for the entire drums. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. If you just blatantly add reverb to a drum without knowing what you're doing, you're going to create issues in the mix and everything is going to sound muddy and all that stuff. And what we want to create is a little bit of depth. So Verb Suite Classics by Slate Digital is one of my favorite reverbs, and it has a section for drums. And for drums, there's a preset here called Drum Depth that I'm going to use to create this sound that I want to do. Now, once you have this preset, I modify it a little bit, but honestly, it sounds pretty good from the get-go. But you need to tailor it to your own song and to your own drum sound, and specifically to your own tempo, because it comes with predefined decay times and pre-delay and what have you, but you need to modify that to your tempo. What I did was modify the pre-delay and the decay. The dry and wet signal is 100% because we're doing this via send, but pre-delay and decay, here are the parameters I use. Pre-delay 11 milliseconds, and on the decay, it's gonna be 342 milliseconds. How did I arrive to those numbers? Well, I use Studio Assist. Studio Assist is an app, external helper, milliseconds, calculations, and all this stuff. Big shout out to Darcy, my good friend. He hooked me up with this app. I highly recommend you get it. As far as milliseconds for reverb, and here you can choose no pre-delay, or if you choose pre-delay, you can choose, for example, like I did here. That's pretty much giving me 11 milliseconds on the pre-delay. So you just need to click on that number, really, and copy it. The problem is that with Verb Suite Classics, you cannot copy anything. If there's a way to do it, guys, that I don't know, please leave it in the comments. I want to learn. But it's one of those reverbs that it doesn't let you copy anything to it. But, you know, manually just go to 11 seconds and that's going to give you the best accurate results. And for the decay, I know what I want to create is actually 1/8 of a note. And that's going to be 342 milliseconds based on that pre-delay. If I didn't have pre-delay, 1/8 of a note is 353 milliseconds, okay? Just for you to see the difference. Just copy that or just add it manually. I'm gonna go with 342 milliseconds. After the reverb, what I'm doing is adding an EQ. Cuts in the lows at 540 hertz and a high cut at 5K. You need to cut the low end because it's not gonna help you. It's gonna make it muddy. So this is how you solve that issue. Now, let me show you before and after this reverb, what it sounds like. You see the dimension that that's creating. Let me show you really quick what happens if I disable the EQ, which is really important. Before, you see how much cleaner that gets when I activate that EQ. Moving on to the second reverb. that I have here. For this one, we're gonna actually keep the same reverb as before for the kick and the hi-hats, but we're gonna use a different reverb for the snare. And the reverb for the snare is a stock plugin, believe it or not, Roomworks. I don't know why people don't use it more, including me. I tend to use the other ones I have, but I forget that I have really good reverbs with Cubase that sounds pretty good. And, they're underrated for sure. So here's what I did. On Studio Assist 1/128th, it's going to be 22 milliseconds of pre-delay. If I wanted to add, for example, 16th of a note, that means if I copy this number, what's going to do is going to default to 20 seconds. That's not what I want because this is based on seconds right here. So what I want to do is copy that number, go here, and move that point after the 1. So I know it's 1.54 seconds because it's 154 milliseconds. It's the only math you need to do really. And once you do that, you're going to get the accurate reverb time. Okay, just letting you know, that's a trick there for you guys using this reverb in particular. So let's see how that sounds. Pretty cool. Here's what the snare sounds like by itself before. After. Here's the final reverb that I wanted to show you today, which is another snare reverb that you can use on snare, on toms, on many drums, and it's a gated reverb. I'm going to copy, guys, exactly the same reverb as before that you heard on that snare, exactly the same reverb, just a copy. And after that, what I'm going to add, it's a gate. In the gate, I added these parameters here, 22 milliseconds for hold and release. And I'm just working with the threshold here. And I'm adding to this, just to give it another flavor, X saturator. And I'm saturating that reverb sound because I want to create that 80s sound. This is a very, very 80s sound that we're going to create. And after that, of course, EQ, just EQing that snare reverb. And that's 166 hertz on this side because I want a little bit more of those low end frequencies. And I'm cutting here at 3.5. Pretty cool reverb. And the snare, just take a look at how that sounds with and without the gate.
And remember, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any other video from us, and see you in the next one.